Good afternoon, and welcome to today's New York City Council hearing for the Committee on Health, joint with the Subcommittee on Early Childhood Education, and joint with the Committee on Oversight and Investigations. If you would like to testify, you must fill out a testimony slip with one of the sergeant-at-arms in the back of the room. You may also submit testimony at testimony@council.nyc.gov. At this time, please silence all electronic devices, and no one may approach the dais. Chairs, we are ready to begin.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I am Councilmember Lynn Schulman, Chair of the New York City Council's Committee on Health. I want to thank everyone for being here at today's oversight hearing on child care program background checks. Before we begin, I would like to recognize the following council members who are here. My co-chair, Councilmember Gutierrez, Councilmembers Wang, Councilmember Carr, and that's it for now. The background check process for employees at child care facilities is extensive and thorough, as it should be. We trust these facilities to care for and protect some of our most vulnerable New Yorkers, and it is our duty as a city to ensure they are safe in their care. Currently, each prospective employee at a child care facility must submit themselves to a state criminal history check, an FBI criminal history check, a state child abuse and maltreatment registry screening, a state sex offender registry check, and a national sex offender registry check. While such rigorous screenings are necessary, this process can create backlogs and confusion over which agency is responsible for each part of the process. If our city's goal is universal child care, then we must ensure that the administration of that care, including the background check process, is as streamlined as possible and that new facilities and employees don't get held up in red tape. We must also ensure the relevant city agencies have the necessary bandwidth to complete these background checks and screenings in a timely manner. Unfortunately, it appears that DOHMH has struggled to keep up since the implementation of these comprehensive background checks. In 2019, the backlog stretched into the tens of thousands, and in 2023, 83% of child care providers reported staffing vacancies. These backlogs have tangible, costly, and sometimes disastrous consequences. For example, the Lightbridge Academy in Greenpoint, Brooklyn had space to serve up to 170 children and their families. They had to close in August 2023 due to a lack of cleared staff. At that time, prospective staff had been waiting nearly 5 months for clearance. This is not how city government should operate. I look forward to hearing from the administration about any progress made on this issue since our last oversight hearing on this topic in 2023, as we work towards solutions that ensure the safety of our children and that each child and their family has access to the child care services they deserve. We will also be hearing the following legislation. There are a bunch of things, so just be patient. The first two bills, introduction number 15 by Majority Leader Sean Abreu and introduction number 135 by Councilmember Tiffany Caban, directly address child care inspections, emergency closures, and the background check backlog. Majority Leader Abreu's bill, Intro 15, would prohibit DOHMH from requiring a prospective child care provider, employee, or volunteer to complete a background check if they have already done so in the past 5 years and were employed by a child care provider in the city for more than 180 consecutive days in that time span. The background check process is robust enough that we shouldn't bog providers down double-checking our work. This bill will free up DOHMH to conduct background checks on those who really require one. Councilmember Caban's bill, Intro 135, tackles a related issue, ensuring that the city is adequately protecting the welfare of our city's children. It would require DOHMH, upon issuing an order to close a child care center due to it being operated in such a manner that it may give rise to an imminent health hazard, to provide a copy of the closing order to parents or other persons who arrive at the child care center and to post a copy on the child care center's door. It would also require DOHMH to post a summary of child care service inspection reports no later than 24 hours following an inspection. Parents deserve to be informed when the safety of their children may be at risk. This bill would enhance transparency and ensure no parent is left in the dark. We will also be hearing introduction number 831 by Councilmember Frank Morano, which would enhance the amount of leave an employee in New York City is entitled to should they donate bone marrow or undergo a medical procedure to make a living organ donation. Finally, we will be hearing 3 resolutions, all sponsored by myself. The first resolution, number 427, calls on the New York State Assembly to pass the governor to sign the New York Affordable Drug Manufacturing Act. The bill has already passed in the state Senate. As we all know, the price for many generic prescription drugs like insulin is far too high. This state bill would direct the State Commissioner of Health to create partnerships, such as with nonprofit drug manufacturers, to increase competition, lower prices, and address shortages, making drugs more affordable. The next two resolutions are on the topic of vaccines. Pre-considered Resolution 1612 calls on the State Assembly to pass A3839 and for the Governor to sign S5852 and A3839. S5852 has already passed in the State Senate. This bill would require insurers to reimburse the total direct and indirect practice expenses associated with vaccinations. According to the American Academy of Pediatrics, vaccines are the second highest expense for many pediatric practices, behind only payroll. We must ensure that these vital health care providers are not burdened for providing such crucial service, especially in a time where vaccine rates are already declining. Resolution number 425 calls on the State Assembly to pass and the Governor to sign 3 pieces of legislation which require vaccines to be regulated, recommended, administered, and insured based on the recommendations of nationally and internationally recognized healthcare organizations, not just the Federal Advisory Committee on Immunization Practices, or ACIP, the CDC's independent board of vaccine experts. All 3 bills have passed the State Senate. The recent court decision, which temporarily blocked the CDC's new vaccine schedule and found that Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. did not follow federal legal procedures when replacing the members of the ACIP, is a win for public health, but we must reinforce our state's commitment to promoting evidence-based vaccine schedules. New York's vaccine regulations and requirements can no longer be tied to the CDC's recommendations. These state bills must pass. And by the way, I saw that the government is actually withholding a report that came out showing the efficacy of the COVID vaccine. That just happened, I think, yesterday or today. I look forward to discussing the legislation with the administration. Before I turn it over to Chair Gutierrez, I want to acknowledge we've been joined by Council members Epstein, Ung, and online by Council Member Morano. I now turn it over to Chair Gutierrez to deliver her opening remarks.
Thank you, Chair Shulman. It is a delight to co-chair a hearing with you, especially on the topic that you've covered multiple times and that you are such a great advocate for. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Councilmember Gutierrez, Chair of the Subcommittee on Early Childhood Education. We're excited to join the Committee on Health and Committee on Oversight and Investigations and their chairs, Chair Shulman and Krishnan, for today's oversight hearing on child care program background checks. Just last week, Emmy, you were here, so many of you were here. Thank you again. But just last week, I co-chaired a hearing on the immediate and critical need for early education teachers. But even if the 5,000 or so qualified New Yorkers showed up today ready to work, AKA how many we will need each year to fill the demand, we need to make sure our system is ready to process them and approve them as fast as possible. Background checks are a critical safety requirement in most jobs, but especially when it comes to safeguarding young children. Yet the current process has felt burdensome rather than an important step in safety. State, federal, and city requirements are layered on top of one another in ways that are not always well coordinated. Agencies seem to not always be coordinating, resulting in duplicative processes and delays. We should be leveraging technology to better align these systems, reduce redundancy, and create a more streamlined and transparent path to compliance. Let's use a real example. An education director completed fingerprinting in January 2024 as a director at a site in East Harlem and had receipts to prove it. Yet when she was submitted for a new position in September of 2024 in my district, those records cannot be located or used. There was no communication until October, and only after repeated follow-ups from their team and my office, when she was told that the fingerprints had been lost. She immediately redid the fingerprints, resetting the clock entirely. What should have taken weeks stretched into months, with unclear handoffs between agencies and no defined timeline or accountability. Ultimately, the delay was so prolonged that the candidate left the job altogether end of November, still not cleared, further delaying the center's reopening and impacting dozens of families. Providers at another location were told an application was out of compliance with Article 47 from the state rules because those rules had changed. There was no formal rule change or guidance explaining this shift. My office also got conflicting information from both the city and the state on this rule change. This point of clarity took months to clear up. Under federal law, any staff member who works in one of the city's 10,800 licensed or registered childcare programs must complete a comprehensive background check every 5 years. The comprehensive background check process includes 2 federal checks of the FBI fingerprint and sex offender registries and 3 state checks of the criminal history, sex offender, and child abuse registries, as well as 3 more interstate checks of the same state registries in any state where a provider lived during the previous 5 years. All of these checks are meant to screen out people with a history of crimes like child abuse, assault, or endangerment. But these comprehensive checks can lead to long wait times. And childcare providers have often noted that these background checks are more lengthy than the requirements for being hired at a DOE school, which are just 2 fingerprinting checks. Nonetheless, it is important for the city to work efficiently to take into account the different legal requirements for background checks and make sure childcare providers do not suffer because of the policy choices. We applaud the changes DOHMH has recently implemented to reduce wait times for providers, like automating the processing system and creating an online portal. However, even though DOHMH has reported that the average wait time for a check was 36 days, providers have testified to the subcommittee that background checks can take more than 3 months. We heard from them last week. If the city is looking to implement a universal childcare system, it will mean hiring a lot more childcare workers over the next several years. So today, we will pull apart how to speed up this critical process. I also want to acknowledge the Department of Investigation, who couldn't join us today. While their role may be, in their words, minimal in this process, it is consequential. This committee looks forward to further conversations with them to improve processes. Thank you to the members of the subcommittee who have joined us. I would like to thank the subcommittee staff, Julia Goldsmith-Pinkham, Katie Salina, Grace Amato, Andrew Lane Lewis, and Margaret Barnsley, as well as my own staff, Anya Lair, Frank Hulka, and Ella Lau for their work on today's hearing. Thank you, Chair Schulman. I turn it back to you.
Thank you. I want to, before we go on, I want to acknowledge we've been joined online by Councilmember Ariola, in person by Councilmember Lee, Williams, Riley, and Joseph.
Owen has quorum, so Morano can speak if he wants.
Oh. So,
Yeah, so Owen has quorum, so Morano.
okay. Councilmember Morano, do you want to give brief opening remarks about your legislation? Because we have quorum for one of the committees.
Councilmember Morano just stepped away. He'll be back in about 2 minutes. Councilmember.
We have to move on, so we'll get to him in a little bit. I will now turn it over to committee counsel to administer the oath to members of the administration.
Good afternoon. Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth before this committee, and to respond honestly to council member questions? You may begin.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Chair Gutierrez, Chair Schulman, members of the Committees on Health and Oversight and Investigations, and the Subcommittee on Early Childhood Education, and all other council members. My name is Emmy Liss, and I am the Executive Director of the Mayor's Office of Child Care and Early Childhood Education. I'm joined today by members of my team and colleagues from the New York City Health Department. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to testify before you today. Childcare is an essential component of the Mamdani administration's agenda. We believe that every child under 5 should have access to free, high-quality care delivered in a range of culturally competent care settings with educators who are properly trained and respected. On just day 8 of this administration, the mayor stood with the governor as she committed over $1.2 billion in new funding to expand access to childcare. With this new funding, the city is expanding and strengthening the 3K program to ensure every family has access to an option close to home. And we are launching 2K, the city's first universal childcare program for 2-year-olds. 2K will serve about 2,000 children this fall, about 12,000 children in fall 2027, and every 2-year-old that wants to participate by the end of the mayor's first term. When families entrust their children to the care and supervision of a child care provider, nothing is more important than their health and safety. Parents need the confidence that when their child is in someone else's care, they will be supported, nurtured, and cared for. Every day, the New York City Health Department works tirelessly to ensure that the physical spaces they are cared for in are developmentally appropriate and safe, and to verify that all the staff who engage with children, no matter their role, are properly vetted and background checked. As we continue to expand access to care in the city, we are committed to doing so in a manner that ensures all programs meet a rigorous and high bar for health and safety. We are also committed to continuously improving our city processes to make it easier for childcare providers to open, operate, and sustain their businesses. That's why we launched the childcare permitting portal last month, so that providers can now apply for a permit online and easily upload their documents and materials rather than sending dozens of individual emails or visiting staff in person. In just a few moments after I finish testimony, I will pass to my colleague Erin Yarborough, Chief Digital Strategist in the Mayor's Office of Childcare and Early Childhood Education, to briefly walk through the permitting portal. When it comes to staff background checks, we will never waver in our commitment to ensuring that any adult who works in a childcare setting is vetted and cleared to be there. At the same time, we recognize that there is always opportunity to strengthen our city processes to ensure they more effectively meet provider need. The Mayor's Office of Childcare and Early Childhood Education will play an important role as we move forward to ensure that all of the city agencies working in childcare are coordinated and aligned, and that all agencies have the resources they need to meet our administration's ambitious goals. We already work closely with the Health Department and will continue to do so to ensure they are properly staffed and supported to oversee the health and safety of all of our childcare programs. Thank you for the time to testify today. I will now pass to my colleague Erin to walk through the permitting portal, and then to Deputy Commissioner Corinne Schiff, who can speak more to the day-to-day details of the Health Department's work and to the administration's position on the legislation being considered today.
Can you hear me? Good afternoon, council members. Again, my name is Erin Yarborough. I'm the Chief Digital Strategist here at the Mayor's Office of Childcare, and I am delighted to walk you through the childcare permitting portal. We have, I believe, if we can bring up the screen here, you also have the good old handouts. And we wanted to give you an actual sort of visual of what the providers will see. The providers were very instrumental in designing this. We got our requirements from Department of Health, but we also included the providers in that requirements process because they are one of the users of this portal. They are also providers joined us for what we call user acceptance testing to make sure it really was going to meet and give them business value, because that is our goal here, is to give the providers and the DOH workers business value. So you'll see this is the landing page. This is what you will see. You can see it on mycity.gov, but also providers, when they make their initial payment for a prelim group daycare center, they will receive an email with an invitation coming right into this portal to continue with their digital application process. This is what they will see. We can go to the next slide or the next page. This is what they'll say once they log in. We understand how many government systems there are, and they all have their own logins, and they all have their own things. We don't like that either. This is the same login they use to make their payments for the childcare. We really wanted to make it easier for providers, especially smaller providers who may not have all these, the IT staff to keep track of all of their various passwords, to use the exact same credentials that will bring them right in to this landing page. You can see one thing right there, action needed. One of the feedback we got from the providers, really critical, is that it is a long application process. There's many steps, and it's not always clear, because I think hitherto there was fillable PDFs, there was a lot of email. What are the next steps? I'm just putting myself in a provider sort of mind frame. I'm applying for group daycare. What are the next steps? What we really try to do in this portal is every time there's an action needed from the provider, we highlighted it for them. So you can go in and see immediately, oh, I see I need to upload my certificate of occupancy, or oh, I see I need to upload this, my staff credentials. Also, there's very much an email communication. Whenever we make a status update on this portal, we often email the providers with that status update. So you can always log in and see your current status of your application and what the next steps are. We're also emailing them automatically. If you go to the next slide. This is, I think, one of the breakthroughs we said is we took a complicated process and broke it down into milestones, and this is by provider request. They just want to know what are the steps and what do I need to do for each step. So you'll see here there's site visibility, viability inspection, architectural review, NYSI buildings and fire department approvals, program details. For everyone, we broke it into milestones. Some of these milestones are concurrent, so we don't like to block them. If they can also work on, if they're getting their certificate of occupancy, they may be able to work on other things, such as uploading their staff credentials. So we try to be very fluid there, but this is very much by provider request. They wanted to come in and see again, What are the steps? Where am I in the step process? And what do I need to do? And you'll see examples of here. You'll see one, action needed, step rejected by caseworker. We're trying to be very good with communication because that's what we heard from DOH workers who are very dedicated to this process as well as providers is communication is the hard part, right? When you have a long application process, what do I do next? I need to be very clear about next steps. So we really tried to highlight things. If maybe a document was rejected because it was out of date, we immediately highlight that for the vendor. We alert them. We bring comments over from the DOH worker working on that case so that you have it all in one place and you can move forward. If we can go to the next slide. That's a little blurry. There's better. Again, milestones are broken into steps. So this is, we just break it down step by step, milestone by milestone. So this is a further example of this. Green is the happy path. It's been completed. If something is pending DOHMH approval, maybe the provider has submitted some paperwork or an architectural document and DOH is reviewing it, then that'll be apparent here as well in the portal. And I'm showing you the provider view. There's an entire DOH worker view, but we're going to show you the provider portal today. You can go to the
I just have a quick question. Who ultimately is the overseer of the portal?
the overseer,
You know,
OTI,
like,
or-
who, that gets the information that can, because it goes to different, I know some of it goes to you guys, some of it goes to DOHMH. Like, who is the person that's responsible overall?
ultimately DOHMH.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, go
Scheduling,
ahead.
that's okay. Scheduling, another pain point we heard from providers. You have to schedule inspections. You have to inspectional early childhood education supervisor meetings. There's a lot of meetings. We've all tried to schedule meetings in this room. We all know how fun that can be when there's a lot of people. It's emails back and forth. When are you available? No, I'm not. Oh, wait, I got to move it. So this was a huge pain point. And what we did is we have online real-time inspections. If I'm a provider, I'm logging in right now. You'll see this screenshot here. DOHMH workers, in this case the inspector, have already put their availability in. I, as a provider, can just click which ones work for me, so I don't have to sort of second guess. That goes directly to DOHMH, and then they'll receive, once it's approved and confirmed, they'll get a confirmation. Providers reacted very positively to this particular feature, and so did DOH, because it takes, scheduling takes two. If we can go to the next slide. Upload document. There's a lot of documents involved in an application, as I'm preaching to the choir. Architectural documents, staffing documents, government documents, tax documents, a lot. Hitherto, those have been delivered sometimes by email, sometimes by snail mail, sometimes by SharePoint download. This is a better way to do it. So the portal will tell the provider exactly what documents are needed. You upload them directly into the portal. Those go directly to DOHMH. And there's always a receipt, so the provider can look through and see exactly what documents have been submitted and the current status of those documents, if they've been accepted by DOHMH, returned by DOHMH, or in process of review by DOHMH. If you go to the next slide, please. Chat. We heard from DOH workers and providers that the email can get really out of hand because in some cases, it's multiple staff of the providers working on an application, and it is almost always multiple staff on DOH working on an application. You send an email to one person, maybe they're out of office. Maybe that's not the person, you meant to email the inspector. Instead, you emailed the early childhood education consultant. So we're bringing them into a chat feature. We're encouraging the use of chat. Basically, the entire communication realm, everyone in the application that's assigned to this application at DOHMH has access to the chat. So you don't have to worry about, oh, did I send it to the wrong person? You sent it to DOHMH. Everyone who is assigned to your particular application has access to the chat. So what we have here is one complete record of all the communication for every application that goes in. This is much better than scrolling through emails, trying to figure out who you sent it to, and did you include the right person? So this is a feature also requested by and very much anticipated by the providers. We go to the background check. There we go. So as I already know, and there'll be more testimony about the background check system, providers can go in, they go online, they enter the staff that they need cleared, and there's various process. There was not until this provider portal a place where a provider can go like, I want to see everyone I've submitted for background check. I don't just go to one by one. Everyone associated with this particular application, from your education director to your food service worker, everyone there, I want to know what the current background check status is. So you can see that here. We created a background check dashboard. This is updated in almost real time, like every 5 minutes or so, with the background check system, and so that providers can go and actually manage not just one by one what the clearance is, but see all in one place. Everyone submitted, what is their current background check status? This is also a feature requested by providers that we have been able to deliver. And the next slide. Just back to the beginning. So that's a very brief overview. I will say a few points that this portal is integrated with other important city systems. There's this thing called CCATS, which you may be familiar with. That is the system of record of DOHMH. This is not replacing CCATS. CCATS remains the system of record. What this is a front portal for the providers and, in many cases, the workers to work, but it is integrated with CCATS. We do not want, as much as possible, providers having to worry about which system do I put it in, and same with workers. We don't want workers to put this in system 1 and this in system 2. So it is integrated with that CCAT systems, but it is important to note that it is not replacing CCATS, and CCAT remains the system of record. Same with the background check. As you saw, it was integrated with the background check system, but it is not replacing it. And from the user perspective, we want to make it as seamless as possible. So what we do like to do is instead having 4 operable systems, you have to log into each one, have the systems talk to each other, have all the information in one place. And that's what we tried to deliver here. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And before we get to the Deputy Commissioner, I just want to commend you for putting this together so quickly for us to see. It's very impressive, and we appreciate, Emmy, I know you're new and, in this role, but we appreciate everything you guys are trying to do to make this process easier for our kids. So with that, I'm going to ask Commissioner.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Chair Schulman, Chair Krishnan, Chair Gutierrez, and members of the Committees on Health, Oversight and Investigations, and the Subcommittee on Early Childhood Education. I'm Corinne Schiff, Deputy Commissioner for Environmental Health at the New York City Health Department. On behalf of Commissioner Martin, thank you for the opportunity to testify today on our work to promote safe, quality childcare. The Health Department is charged with protecting and promoting the health of all New Yorkers. One of our critical responsibilities is oversight of childcare programs. The department regulates childcare centers, programs that serve children under age 6 in standalone commercial locations, and school-based childcare programs which serve children ages 3 to 5 in a school with upper grades. New York State regulates home-based childcare, which serves children 6 weeks to 12 years old in a residential setting, and school-age childcare, which operates in non-residential settings to care for children in school ages 5 to 13, after school and during school breaks. The Health Department holds a contract with New York State to conduct some aspects of the licensing and background check processes and to inspect. Safe, quality childcare sets children up for a lifetime of positive health outcomes, and New York City has some of the strongest and most protective health and safety requirements in the country. Mayor Mamdani has been clear that maintaining New York City's high health and safety standards is a key component of the city's universal child care plan. Every provider who applies to open a child care center in New York City undergoes a rigorous vetting process, and once the program is operating, the Health Department conducts unannounced inspections to promote compliance with health and safety mandates. We make inspection results available on our website, Child Care Connect, and provide recent inspection history and other information on a performance summary card posted at the program entrance. The department's work on background clearances is the subject of today's oversight inquiry and of Introduction 15. Since 2019, the Health Department conducts a comprehensive background clearance for anyone working in a child care program who may have contact with children. Federal law requires us to process the clearance application within 45 days, and I'm pleased to report that after years of extensive backlogs, our median processing time is now below the 45-day mandate. We continue to upgrade our technology to improve efficiency and anticipate further improvements in our turnaround time. Some applications take longer than 45 days, including for reasons outside of the department's control, such as when we must request clearance information from another state and do not receive a timely response. Turning to Introduction 15, it would prohibit the health department from repeating a background check except where the law requires it. The department already conducts a renewed background check only when required by law and would like to discuss with council the concerns this bill aims to address. Introduction 135 would require the department to post summary inspection reports on our website within 24 hours, post closure orders at the entrance to the child care program, and provide the closure order to parents or caregivers. The department already posts summary inspection reports on our Child Care Connect website. Our inspection system uploads these reports overnight, and they appear the next day. Regarding closure, the vast majority of the city's child care providers offer safe and loving environments for children. There are times, however, when we identify programs operating unsafely. In those cases, we require the program to close, correct the deficiencies, and update their protocols. Only after the program demonstrates to us that it can operate safely do we authorize reopening. We know this closure can create a hardship for families, and we do not take this step lightly. As part of the closure process, we require the provider to post the closure order at the program entrance and distribute closure information to families. We would like to work with the council regarding the best way for the department to provide closure information directly to families. Thank you for the opportunity to testify. I'm happy to take questions.
Okay, thank you very much. A couple of things before we get to questions. One, we've been joined by council members Felder, Brewer, and I also want to turn it over to our other co-chair, Chair Krishnan, who's the chair of the Oversight and Investigations Committee, for his opening remarks.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much, Chair Shulman and Gutierrez. It is an honor to partner with you all for today's hearing on a critically important issue for our city. I'm Councilmember Shekhar Krishnan, Chair of the Council's Committee on Oversight and Investigations, which provides oversight of the city's Department of Investigation, or DOI. I would like to thank Health Committee Chair Shulman and Subcommittee on Early Childhood Education Chair Gutierrez for co-chairing today's important hearing on child care program background checks. Thanks as well to the representatives of the administration, advocates, and members of the public for attending today's oversight hearing. As a parent of 2 young children, I know how important our city's child care providers are for working families. In fact, before I was in the council and a parent of 2 much smaller children, I myself had to work with neighborhood parents to try to keep a daycare center open in our neighborhood that was closing down by Elmhurst Hospital. And I learned through that, before doing this work, just how difficult the child care background approval process is, because all the parents and I were trying to work together to both keep the daycare center open, but also try to find alternative placements for the child care staff who were there, who were beloved. But one of the challenges that we saw was how long the background check process can be and how that impacts their ability to secure jobs afterwards too, in the event of a child care center closure, which should never be happening, but that's what it is. Our child care providers are critical to the function of this city, allowing parents to go to work knowing there are people taking care of their children like their own. But this trust only comes after rigorous background checks and screenings of these workers. Our trust in child care workers is trust in the city agencies that make the system run. We count on our city agencies to vet the providers who look after our children all day, to be thorough, fast, and efficient. I'm proud that with a new City Hall, childcare has become a priority. And as we see an increase in childcare seats, we need to make sure we have adequate staffing and support to fill those seats. Too many childcare providers report costly fees, more expensive than getting your driver's license, and extensive delays in the processing of their staff's background checks, limiting their ability to provide families with essential care, and in some cases being forced to close daycares, as I personally learned about 8 years ago. Today we will learn what are city agencies doing to make the fingerprinting process more efficient. Are agencies prepared to take the task of expanding childcare seriously, creating a pathway for affordable and fast fingerprinting and background checks for childcare workers? We are demanding that our city agencies take the crisis of childcare seriously, as I know they do, ensuring fast and thorough services. The devil is always in the details. We cannot let red tape get in the way of this urgent need for affordable childcare. We must do all we can to support working families, keep daycares open and thriving, and end the steep fees for childcare workers to do their jobs. Before we begin, I'd like to thank the staff from my office and the Committee on Oversight and Investigations for their work prepping for today's hearing. Senior Legislative Counsel Nicole Kata, Policy Analyst Erica Cohen, Policy Analyst Alex Yablon, Chief of Staff Chanel Martinez, Legislative and Budget Director Hunter Divinagracia, and Communications Director Victoria Opperman. I will now turn it back to Chair Shulman and look forward to a very informative hearing today. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Krishnan. I'm now going to ask Councilmember Morano to make a brief statement on his legislation.
Thank you, Chair Shulman. Appreciate your leadership chairing this hearing and for your passion for health issues in general, not just chairing this committee, but literally your entire career in government. I want to thank the committee and the chair and the speaker for your willingness to hear Intro 831 today. This bill is a new version of a bill that some folks in the administration and in the labor movement had raised a couple of objections with respect to collective bargaining. I think this version of the bill is largely clear of any of those pitfalls. In general, the bill is about something very simple but very important: removing a barrier for people who are willing to save someone else's life. Right now, there are thousands of people, including many New Yorkers, waiting for organ transplants. Many of them are on dialysis, sometimes for years, hoping for a second chance, hoping for more time with their families. At the same time, there are people willing to step up to donate a kidney, part of their liver, or bone marrow, but they hesitate for one very practical reason: they can't afford to take time off from work. That's the problem we're trying to solve. Intro 831 ensures that workers across New York City have job-protected time off if they choose to become a living organ or bone marrow donor, up to 20 days for organ donation and 5 days for bone marrow, which is what the health guidelines recommend. And just as importantly, it establishes a pathway for the city to provide wage replacement so that people are not financially penalized for doing something extraordinary. Because in plain English, this is what it comes down to. If you're willing to go through surgery to save someone's life, you shouldn't have to worry about losing your paycheck. This bill recognizes something fundamental, that the biggest barrier to organ donation is often not willingness, it's reality. It's time off work, it's recovery, it's making rent, it's supporting your family. This legislation is about removing that barrier so more people can step up. And I'll tell you, the issue is very personal for me, because for years, first on the radio and now as a council member, I've heard from people waiting for transplants, people stuck on dialysis, people hoping for that call that could change everything. And I've also seen what happens when that call comes. A close friend of mine received a liver transplant about a decade ago. Transplant gave him 10 more years of life, 10 more years with his family, 10 more years with his friends, time that meant just everything. And that's what organ donation does. It gives people time. It gives families memories that they otherwise wouldn't have. This bill has evolved through the legislative process, and I appreciate the input from the administration and from my colleagues and from the labor stakeholders. I think the version before you today reflects a thoughtful, citywide approach that expands protections to workers beyond the city workforce while addressing the concerns that were raised with respect to collective bargaining. It sets a baseline right to leave, it protects workers from retaliation, and it ensures that this benefit can't simply be waved away without something comparable in place. At the end of the day, it's not a partisan issue, it's not an ideological issue, it's a human issue. It's about whether we as a city are going to stand behind people who are willing to do something selfless and sometimes something life-saving. And it's about making sure that doing the right thing doesn't come with a financial penalty. I urge my colleagues and the public to support Intro 831. I thank the committee sincerely for its consideration of this bill today. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councilmember Morano. We will now move to the Q&A portion of this hearing. Right before we do that, I want to thank the Health Committee staff, Josh Newman and Elizabeth Arzt and Chris Pepe, who's not here today, the committee counsel, and my staff, my chief of staff, Jonathan Boucher, Kevin McAleer, my legislative and budget director, and my comms director, Sammy New. So I want to start off with DOHMH. How has the background check process at DOHMH changed since we last had a hearing on this topic in 2023? And can you walk me through the process step by step?
Yes, thank you, Chair. When we met in 2023, I believe we had only recently launched our online portal, and it's really been a dramatic change since then. And so many of the stories that you have all told in your opening comments, I think we have moved beyond a lot of those issues. So since that time, we now have a staff of 60 who work solely on background clearances, in addition to other staff who have other roles, but who spend some of their time on background clearances. And most importantly, we have an online portal so that providers can enter their background clearances into this portal rather than sending us applications by email. During that period, when we were first given this federal mandate in 2019, we were taking in applications by email, and literally our computer systems were crashing under the weight of those. We launched that system in May 2023 and things have dramatically improved. So the process is that a person who will be working with children in childcare do two things. They enter their information into our portal, which, like the provider portal that Aaron demonstrated, was designed with input from providers and user testing with providers at the time that we launched a couple of years ago. And you also go to get your fingerprints taken. Another change that was made a couple of years ago is, rather than having to go to DOI to get fingerprints, the city entered into a partnership with a private fingerprint provider, which has offices all over the region. They have long hours. They are open on the weekends. So that was a big convenience for people to be able to get those fingerprints taken. Once those fingerprints have been cleared, that person is then able to begin working at the program under the supervision of a fully cleared person. So they don't have to wait until the entire process has been completed. They can get started working. Meantime, we go through all of the other clearances. You cited those in your opening comments. Like the portal that Aaron demonstrated, providers, the applicant has an identification number they can type in to check the status of the process. Once those clearances come through, we send a letter to them and to the provider, and they can begin working without that supervision.
How much of a backlog exists now?
So our median processing time right now is about 30 days. There's some seasonality to the application, so there's a kind of peaks to that. So we have had a median processing time as low as 20 days, and we're sort of on the downward slope right now. So we think that processing time will get back to that 20-day mark. There are applications that are above 45 days. Our system doesn't allow us to easily tease out what applications are pending with us solely because of our work, as opposed to we are waiting on an outside state to give us information back. So at any given time, we've got about 500 applications that are beyond the 45-day mark, but those are for a variety of reasons. Some are with us. We're still continuing to make improvements in our turnaround times, as I said, but many of them are because we are waiting for results from out of state, a person who has worked out of state in the prior 5 years. We need to check those other state clearance information. Sometimes it takes us longer to get information back from the state central registry than other times, so that can cause a longer time period for processing. There are times when providers, the applicant has made typos in the application, and so that is something we need to have them correct. We've just recently, about maybe just a couple of weeks ago, did an upgrade to the system to have people re-enter certain information, which is a common thing that you see in applications, so that'll cut down on typos. So those are some of the reasons, but at any given time, that's about how many we have that are beyond the 45-day mark.
And do you have plans in terms of lowering those 500? I mean, 500 is a lot.
We are continuing to make upgrades to the portal So in all of the new releases, there are upgrades that we make that will improve our efficiency. As I said, some of those are outside of our control, and some of those things we are not able to change. But we are always looking to see where are there places where we can speed up some of those processing times. I'll say that when there is a situation where a program is dependent on that clearance in order to operate, say they have an education director, that is a key staff person that you need to be able to operate. If they are waiting for that clearance, we will handhold that application and do everything we can to get that through the system faster. So we do maintain constant contact with providers, and we try to move those through as fast as possible. Some of it is outside of our control.
Okay, and that portal is separate from the portal that we just saw, so they're two separate portals?
It is, and you saw where Aaron pointed out one of the screenshots where there is integration, but they are separate.
Okay, and the integration, I mean, I know it's new, so we'll keep an eye in terms of it working and maybe enhancing the integration and all of that. Okay. Does DOHMH process background checks on behalf of OCFS for state-regulated providers?
So our contract with OCFS, the Office of Children and Family Services, does include us processing parts of the background clearance for the state-regulated providers.
Okay. How many background check applications across all child care program types are currently pending at DOHMH?
So I can share the city side information. We're happy to talk to OCFS to see if they will share the data for the state-regulated programs. At any given time, we get about 3,000 applications a month. Some months are busier. So in September, for example, we took in 4,200 applications. And right now, our median processing time is about 30 days. Sometimes it's 20 days. So it is a dynamic number, but you can get a sense of what our docket is at any given time.
Is there someone that can be spoken to by a provider if they have a problem or there's a glitch, or like an ombudsman type person?
Yes. So there are two ways that providers can be in touch with us. The providers have contacts at our borough offices, and they're in pretty regular contact with the borough offices. But we also have an email inbox that is monitored by several people and is actively, where we actively respond to inquiries.
And providers have that information?
Providers have that, and we have something we started maybe a year or two ago is we not only send out regular emails to providers with new information, but we've also been doing a monthly roundup of all of the information that's gone out that month, and we've gotten really good feedback about that. So that's another place where they're constantly hearing from us and getting that contact information. And those phone numbers, of course, always live on our website, so if they don't have that, they know to go there.
Is that something that can be added to your portal? Okay, that'd be great. Okay, thank you. What are the primary drivers of delays in background check processing? Staffing, fingerprinting, bottlenecks, interagency coordination? I mean, you sort of mentioned it, but...
Yeah. For the most part, for a sort of a healthy application, you could say those clearances are very straightforward and they're processed quickly. Every application is handled on its own, and one of the things I didn't mention is that sometimes we do get a report back from one of these agency checks where there is something concerning that we need to look into. And so that's another reason that an application may take longer if we have to do an additional assessment to see if that person can work in childcare.
So what are the things that I mentioned, like what's maybe the number one kind of driver of a backlog, or it just varies?
I think it really varies. I don't know that there's one or another, and I don't know. I would hesitate to call it a backlog. I mean, a person who has worked out of state in the prior 5 years, and we are doing our due diligence and complying with the law to check that out of state history, and we are waiting for that state to report back. I would not call that a backlog. So I would say, and I think all of you have said in your opening remarks, the work that we are doing here is so very important
Right.
for the providers, for the families. And it's not something where, while we feel a tremendous burden to get these done as quickly as possible, we know how critically important it is for the person who will begin work and for the provider who needs that childcare professional in the classroom, but also for the family to make sure that we are not cutting corners.
Okay. In March, Mayor Mamdani announced the expansion of 2K, including the first 2,000 seats coming online this fall and the addition of 1,000 3K seats. Is the agency prepared and equipped to process the background checks for the additional providers needed to meet this expanded capacity citywide? And what specific steps have been taken to ensure readiness? Is it on?
Oh, okay, great, there we go.
Yeah.
I'm happy to start with this. So for the expansion of 3K capacity and the launch of 2K this fall, given the relatively quick turnaround time between now and September, the city is planning to work with existing childcare providers. So any of the providers who are offering 3K or 2K services this fall already have a license or permit, and very likely already have staff in place in those classrooms. We anticipate there will be some new hiring to support 2K and 3K, as there always is in the lead up to the first day of school, but we do not expect a huge rush. We are continuing to monitor what the staffing patterns will look like with our partners at New York City Public Schools and with the health department to make sure that we are prepared. And then certainly as we prepare for the fall of 2027, when we will be bringing many more 2K seats online, we'll be planning ahead with the Department of Health and New York City Public Schools to ensure that there is sufficient staff capacity for onboarding those providers.
Okay, thank you. How many background checks does DOHMH process every year for early childhood educators?
So I can provide the city side numbers, and that's the numbers I gave you
Understood.
before. That 3,000 on a typical month. Some months are bigger. September was 4,200.
Oh, you mentioned that earlier, okay. To what extent are background check delays contributing to delays in opening new childcare slots or programs?
So I'm not aware that they are contributing to delays. Any particular program that is having, experiencing a delay that they think is related to the background clearance should certainly be in touch with our office. As I noted, the education director, who is a key person to be able to open, is somebody that's an application that we handle in our borough office and really handhold, because we know that that is the key to being able to open. But we would, well, you know, if you are hearing from a provider in your community, please do reach out to us.
Okay, if DOHMH receives a question about an issue that's handled by OCFS, how do you refer that person to OCFS? Is there a clear line of communication for the public to both of you regarding the background check processing?
So for the most part, we can take those questions. Most of the kinds of questions that come in from providers who are doing a background check, doing that process on the what we would call the state side, we can answer those questions. If it's something that we cannot answer, we will contact OCFS and make sure that that answer gets back to the provider.
Has DOHMH quantified how many providers are unable to begin operations due to pending background checks? And does DOHMH prioritize the background check of directors so that the business can open?
So as we just discussed, yes, we do.
Okay. According to the background check requirements under federal law, a person who has passed the first 2 fingerprinting checks can work with children if they are never left alone with them. How many people are in this provisional status right now?
So really, anyone who submits the clearance application and completes those fingerprints and they come back without any concerns, they can begin work so long as they are under the supervision of a fully cleared person. So I don't have that number, but that's something that we were able to provide so that people can at least get started working.
Okay, if you could just get us the number at some point, that would be great. Once a person has completed a background check for one employer but chooses to change jobs still within the child care field, does that person need to undergo a background check again with the new employer?
So a person who has been fully CBC cleared, so comprehensive background check cleared, and that clearance has been within the past 5 years, and there hasn't been a break in service in 180 days. If they want to change employers,
Right.
then what they need to do is let us know in the portal that they are changing locations, and then they are good to go. We will move their fingerprints over to this new. This is sort of on the back end. This is invisible to the child care professional. We will attach the fingerprint to their new employer, and there are a couple of the clearances that we will repeat, but that is invisible to the provider and to the applicant themselves. They can begin working as soon as they just let us know.
Okay, how does DOHMH work with DOE to see whether an educator has already passed the 2 clearances necessary for working with DOE and with DOHMH?
So this is another thing that we have done a lot of work on, probably since the last time we met, which is that we do now have access to the DOE system. So we are able to, if someone who has those fingerprints completed for DOE, we are able to essentially use those in our system.
Now, I know, well, we had DOE here for another hearing, and they mentioned that, and you guys seem to be able to work really well together, from what I could gather. How does DOHMH track and report processing timelines internally, and are there established benchmarks or service level targets?
So we do have internal metrics to measure our turnaround times, and certainly our primary goal is never to exceed that federal mandate for the work that is in our control, so that 45-day mandate for the work that we are doing ourselves. And otherwise, our goal is to get that number down, our processing time down as quickly as we can.
Are there disparities in approval timelines between home-based providers, which are regulated through OCFS, and center-based providers, which are regulated through DOHMH?
So we're happy to pass on the question to OCFS to get the processing time information from them.
And then I want to know, like, what's driving the differences, if there are differences. Okay. At the council's last hearing on this issue in 2023, DOHMH testified that the agency was onboarding 40 new staff members to process background check applications. How many staff? You said there's about 60, right, to address background check? Okay. And do you have any vacancies in the unit right now?
We have just normal attrition, so nothing that is staff shortages. And as you heard Emmy said, we're working very closely together to make sure that as the city expands providers, that we will likewise expand.
So given the recent announcement of the 2K and 3K expansion, does DOHMH need additional funding for additional staff to process the background checks?
So we don't need funding now, and as you know from our budget hearing, we did get resources just even anticipating some of the initial expansion that you just heard about. But we are working very closely together to make sure that as the city's provider capacity expands, that our capacity will expand alongside that.
Okay, great. We have our executive budget hearing coming up, so anticipate some questions. What are the costs associated with conducting a background check excluding fingerprinting, and who's responsible for covering these costs?
Do you mean the agent, the health department's costs to administer the program? Is that?
What are the costs associated with conducting a background check? So what I'm asking is who's responsible, the agency, the provider, the individual undergoing the background check? Like, are there costs?
You mean to pay for the fingerprinting?
To do excluding the fingerprinting.
Excluding the fingerprinting.
Is there anything or there's not?
I don't think there's a cost to submit the background clearance.
Okay. Is DOHMH open to increasing transparency for providers around the status of the background check for themselves or their employees? Well, you already, by creating a portal such as the Mayor's Office of Child Care has done for the new permits.
So we do have a portal that we launched in May, I think it was May 22nd. It was a big day, so I remember the date, 2023. And applicants they are given a number of an application number, and so they are able to type that in and get to check the status of the application, and we also do email them.
When a potential early childhood educator fails a background check, how is this communicated to them, and how is it communicated to the potential employer?
So a letter does go out. There are obviously confidentiality issues here, so different information goes to the applicant and the provider in some cases, but there is a letter that goes, and including, if they're including information about next steps for the applicant if they want to, for example, appeal that decision or give us more information.
For those potential early childhood educators who do not speak English as a first language, do you offer translation services for those undergoing the background check process?
So our background check portal is able to be translated. So there's language accessibility there, and for people who have questions, who want to contact either their borough office or to speak to the central office, we can always use Language Line, and our staff are trained to do that.
Do you know how many languages is served, or?
By Language Line, it is 200.
Okay, no, that's great. Now I'm gonna, I appreciate this, and I'm gonna ask Chair Gutierrez for questions on her end. Thank you very much, appreciate it.
Thank you, Chair Schulman, and I do have a number of questions for Hemi again, but I did have some follow-up questions for you, Deputy Commissioner. Thank you so much for answering everything. Let me just make sure I have my notes. Can you just, to start, clarify the 30-day timeline? Is that from the fingerprint process with DOI, or is that like separate? That is only once kind of you get notified. What is that? When does the clock start that you're timing for the 30 days?
So that median time will be from when the time that somebody submits the application to us. Whether they have already gone and gotten their fingerprints, I don't know.
Okay.
You could do it either way. You can come to us. You could start entering after you've already gotten the fingerprints.
Sure. Okay, that's helpful. I think, is that it? Okay. So you referenced kind of some of the areas that that the agency has improved on. What kind of a delay is a typo? Like, what is the level of a strain that a typo, and tell me, because on my end I'm like, a typo takes seconds, but what is, I don't know, is a typo like, I put the wrong initial here, I put a period where it wasn't supposed to go, like, because it seems like a significant enough error where it's creating a delay, but what is the turnaround on that?
So it's an example of the kind of thing where if we get what we would call a healthy application, we can handle that much more quickly. If you reverse numbers in your social security number,
Sure.
That's going to delay. All of these checks are dependent on that social security number. We don't know that there's been a typo in your social security number. So that's just the sort of thing. And 45 days is not a lot of time. So any of these couple of day issues can extend the timeline.
And then thank you. And then you did mention, well, I'm just curious back on the typo. So it's not necessarily like spelling errors. It's like technical errors like this. Like
exactly. So a date of birth.
Okay.
If you reverse your date of birth, the date, and so we don't have the correct date of birth, then that's something we may not discover. So as I said, we just a couple of weeks ago did a new release where we have you enter that twice. That's a way to reduce those kinds of errors. I don't know yet how helpful that is because we just released it, but that's the sort of thing, as we gain more and more experience, we can see what are the kinds of things that are tripping people up that we can fix with technology and just eliminate those.
Okay. And okay, I think that was, I think I have some more, but I think that's it just based on your responses. Thank you so much. I had some questions for the mayor's office and certainly want to hear from you, Erin. Thank you for walking us through this. I think it looks really good also. I don't know if you've gotten any credit for just the layout of it. I think sometimes, it's hard to put together these new sites and expect everyone to just jump in and fully understand it, but I think the layout is really, really easy, really forward, and I really appreciate that you were able to work with providers to put this together. Just based on this, though, can you clarify, are these for new applicants or new applicants and existing applicants?
Currently, it is for it's for prelims, what we call new applicants for group daycare.
Okay.
We do have plans to expand it to renewals. That is, in fact, we're talking with DOH right now to get those business rules, and we plan to, that'll think will be our next big release, because I know there's a huge demand for renewals and amendments as well. Currently, right now, it is just prelims, new applicants.
Okay, and is there anything that folks should know about, this is really wonky, but about uploading docs? Because I think oftentimes, I'll use the example of 311, you can't necessarily upload a doc or a picture if the resolution is too low, or, just if I'm, someone who's interested in opening up a group daycare and I don't know this, how easy is it for them to upload documents, to, or pictures that they need to, like, what is that communication with them while they're already here so that we don't lose them?
Right. So you'll see in the screenshot there, we actually give some instructions like, look, we accept these kind of files. PDF is one, JPEG is another. A lot of people just take pictures of their documents, and as long as as long as you can read it, that can count. So we try to give them that, and we try to give them a document size limit that's fairly large. You'd have to do that. So we give them that up front. Some people are going to have issues, with that and what have you. There's sort of like a contact support thing if you're having trouble uploading a document. So we can, that will go to a help desk who can try to support them, but usually we try to tell them up front. We're finding, at least when we spoke to providers, it's going to happen, council member, obviously, but like it's the same sort of requirements that they're kind of used to at this point when they're uploading documents at their bank or any of the other thing. It's often the same requirements, but you're right, it can be a point of failure.
And is the idea that once these new providers are utilizing this site, that they will continue to use this site every couple years?
We're really trying to design it so it's not just a one and go. But we hope those providers can stay in business and grow and prosper, so they're going to renew. We're going to have renewals ready by then. We have some information, such as that background check.
So everyone every
dashboard.
home-based provider at some point will have to be transitioned to using this site?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm sorry? Center-based, yeah.
So what did I say? Home-based.
You said home-based.
Center-based, my
I'm
bad.
sorry.
No, we got to
I
clarify.
just heard
Thank
centers.
you.
Home-based is state, and we would love to automate the state system.
No. I want to be clear. I don't want to confuse anyone. Thank you, Emmy. Okay, great. Okay, and besides this new site, is My City only going to be used for this to the best of our knowledge
You want to take that?
in its new iteration?
So My City has both a parent-facing portal and a provider-facing portal. The parent-facing portal for My City is how families are able to apply and recertify for childcare vouchers. And the provider-facing side is where the provider portal lives. So both of those functions continue to be maintained.
Okay, and that's fine, but just for the purpose of childcare at this point? Yes, okay, great. Thank you. And for you all, and I know that this is obviously like part of the process, are there other ways, that your team is working with DOH/MAH to identify efficiencies or greater transparency in the background check process?
So we collaborate very closely with DOH/MAH and with Deputy Commissioner's team. We meet on a weekly or biweekly basis to discuss and troubleshoot things that we are hearing from providers, things that we're observing in our regular work, and we're constantly looking at how we can make all of the city's processes easier for childcare providers to navigate.
Okay. Is there, and I also want to be careful about using the word backlog, because I know that originally that was a word. I think it's great that we're no longer there. But I do think that just based on last week's hearing, and I'm sure some of the folks today, I think that 45 days is fast and is oftentimes not the experience of people that we're hearing from, right? No one's reaching out to say, hey, I got cleared in 45 days. Great job, DOH/MAH, right? Like they're reaching out because they're like, we've been waiting for 3 months. So are there areas where, and this is obviously never to jeopardize safety, but are there areas where, like, do you need a bigger staff? What are some of the things that we need to be thinking about into this budget and the out-year budgets as well? Because I'm a little taken aback by the amount of people that we have at DOH/MAH to be able to do this work, considering how much larger we want to get. And also I'm aware that, like, you're not you don't have 3,000 people every month necessarily, right? It kind of ebbs and flows. But what are some of the things that you are thinking about to prepare? What do you need more of?
So, first I would say, if you are hearing from a constituent provider that something is taking that long, the story that you told, they should reach out to our office, or you should reach out to our office, because that's something we want to troubleshoot. The 45 days is that federal maximum. That's our ultimate target, but we are aiming to turn these around much more quickly. And right now, as I said, our median turnaround time is 30 days. And when we are at a period where we have a more stable, a lower level of intake, our median processing time was 20 days. So we're not, our goal is to do this as quickly as possible with, as you just said, not sacrificing the care and attention that we give to these applications. As we are growing, as the city will grow, we will grow, and we are working, as Emmy and I have both said, working very closely together to understand the ratio, I think you could say, of child care programs, and it's a complicated formula because it's not just the number of providers, but it's the size of those providers, the number of staff, and what that will mean on our side for us to grow accordingly. And I think we both feel confident that we're going to get that, because this is only going to succeed if we are able to process these applications in a timely way.
Can you share if, once an application is submitted, is there a actual human reviewing these applications first? Is there some kind of tool that you all are using at some point of the process?
So there are these multiple databases that need to be checked, and then if something comes back where there is some sort of flag in that person's background, there is a unit that does a health and safety assessment to see if that's a person who needs conditions on employment or who cannot be employed in childcare.
But that initial, is it always a unit? I'm just trying to see if you all use any kind of AI tools to kind of even just skim through an application. I just want to be clear on, because sometimes the feedback that I get is like, we did submit this. It is in there, and now it's taking us forever to get in contact with our assigned borough person. And I have heard that feedback many times, Deputy Commissioner. So in my past life as a former chair of technology, I often learned that sometimes there is just an AI tool that is being used to kind of assess, and then those are when flags are sent, and so sometimes that creates longer times because you need to find a person to look through it and connect with that applicant. So that's what I'm asking. Is it always staff people that are looking at this?
It is staff people who are looking through these. And to give you an example, they are looking through them in a proactive way. So if we see an application, we will typically get a fingerprint result in a week or two. But if we see that we haven't gotten that fingerprint result, we're not sitting around waiting what's going on. We are then reaching out to our colleagues at DOI, and we work very closely with them as well. And we're troubleshooting together what's happened with that fingerprint result. Sometimes we find out that fingerprint wasn't taken in a very clear way, and it wasn't able to be processed, or there's been a delay in the payment for that fingerprint. And so those are things we can troubleshoot. So it is people. That is why we have a staff of 60 people devoted just to this work. Great.
And I'm sorry that wasn't clear, but I just want to make sure that there are people looking at that stuff, because there are some of these details that could get lost. Thank you. Emmy, is the administration, and I'm sorry if you covered this already, but is the administration considering making background check clearances portable by individual educator?
So as Corinne outlined, if an educator has been working in childcare without any break in their employment and has gone through a comprehensive background check within the last 5 years, then that staff member is able to move between childcare settings where we see folks
quickly with no delay.
So what they need to do with those 5 years, 180 days, is just let us know that they are moving, and then they can start at the new location.
And is this fairly new as of
this is within about the last year.
Okay.
We were able to.
Because I did not hear that in the past, but I just want to make
sure
this has been corrected.
As you were telling your story, I think it was 2024. This is after 2024. So we did hear a lot from providers that was a burden, and we were able to work with New York State to make sure that we were able to do that. And we let providers no, we got great feedback about that. The
Great.
process is on our website, and this is how we are really constantly talking to providers, hearing where the problems are, and making improvements where we can, so long as the law allows it.
Absolutely. And I'm asking these questions not to rehash necessarily, but really just put us on a path of like, this is an error that we saw, we addressed it, and this is how we're moving forward. Thank you. Is the Mayor's Office of Child Care working with the state on building efficiencies into the state level system needed to run background checks?
We have not talked in detail with the state about their background check process for home-based providers, though we are committed on our end to making it easier for home-based providers to navigate these processes. So as we continue in our very regular engagement with providers, we are asking them about pain points they experience in opening and operating their businesses, and we will, as we hear specific examples, share those with the state and with our partners, and we have a very open dialogue with the state broadly about regulation and ways in which we can make it easier for providers to operate.
And what about the same with federal level clearances? Any communication with the federal government?
We have not, since the start of this administration, been in touch with the federal government about this issue.
Background check processes differ for early childhood educators based on the location of the early childhood education programs, with DOE, DOHMH, and the state's OCFS having oversight roles for various location types. How is the Mayor's Office of Child Care coordinating with all agencies involved in the background check processes?
I think we coordinate very closely with the Department of Health, and we are in very regular touch with OCFS just broadly about their regulation of child care providers and ways in which we can continue to work together. Our goal is to be in community, talking regularly with providers about the pain points they experience, and then using our position as cross-government.
I'm sorry to cut you off. Are the providers directly communicating with you? Like, here are the names of the 4 people?
No, not at that. I would say some of the examples of system improvements that you're hearing, some of the things that went into the permitting portal, these are the result of providers coming to us and saying, hey, we're getting stuck with X. We can log into the portal, or our staff can log in and see their individual status, but I want to be able to see what's the status across my staff. And so that's why now in the permitting portal, providers can log in and see all of their pending background checks. So we're using the feedback we get from providers. Certainly if there are points of escalation that come into our office, we follow up right away with the responsible agency. And then as we hear from providers about the challenges they face and where we hear those as repeated trends, that's how we're looking to innovate and continue improving our systems.
How big is the office now? How many staff members?
We are in the process of growing. I think there are 7 of us now.
Okay, all right now. That's great.
There were 6 the last time you asked me.
Come on. No. I just like to be updated, but I think that's great. I know. Yeah. I have a couple of more questions just on the portal, the site portal. Okay. Do you have a sense of what and I know you just launched, but do you have a sense of whether or not the average time to process a child care permit before the launch and now, has it improved? Are you able to even share that? I know it just launched, but like what when you launched it, were you like, we'd love to shave, I don't know, 2 weeks off of the product, whatever, like what were some of the goals that you all had before launching this?
Right, so I think Deputy Commissioner Schiff has shared some medium pre-portal launch. So we're using that as a baseline. We didn't have a set goal like I'm going to shave off 5 days, I'm going to shave off 10 days. We obviously hope it happens more quickly using the mean median average that DOHMH does. So it is too soon, right, because we would need a greater data set of completed applications just to measure it, against. And I know we were talking earlier about background check. I'm using a slightly different one, like the application, median. So, but we do intend to measure it. And, our goal is to get better. Have we set, it's going to be 10 days less? Not yet. I think we need more data to set that, but essentially, we're hoping it shows a substantial improvement.
Yeah.
And I think if I could add to that, we both want to make the process faster, but also, frankly, just easier. I think this is a process that providers, and I know you've heard from them as well, have found to be frustrating in the past. They're sending emails, even just the example Aaron gave about trying to schedule an inspection. I think if we can make this process less frustrating, less burdensome for providers, if they can schedule their inspection with one easy click instead of 15 emails, yes, we hope that makes the process faster, and we hope it makes their interactions with government feel easier, and it makes it feel more sustainable for them to open and operate and continue to expand their business.
Have you all gotten, can you share how many applications have come in since the launch?
43.
Okay. And has there been any, I don't know, are anybody having, like, emailing for, like, technical issues or anything that, for now?
We've actually been pretty well. We're monitoring. We have the thing called a war room once we launch. We have, I know, it's
Dramatic.
we should think of a better metaphor. But it means just high level of user support, because we just want to make sure.
Yeah.
It's actually been fairly positive. We had some people who put a different address in one application and it's coming out in another. We had one where they put in an address that is actually different than the address that comes up on their GPS, and so we're resolving that. But we were able to resolve that fairly quickly. We're also holding, because I think provider feedback is so key here, we're holding what we call sort of office hours, and those will be scheduled soon, where we're working very closely with Corinne in the DOHMH to invite providers to just show up and give us their feedback.
Okay.
And so there's plenty of feedback and user support in the application itself, including that chat feature, right? Which I should mention is not an AI chat feature. That goes straight to real DOHMH
It's important to emphasize.
Yes,
Yeah,
I think you're right. I think you're right, and I should have emphasized it, so thank you, council member. So far we have not had any red flags of this is, bad. But we're also interested not just in like this doesn't work, but what is working, and maybe we can double down on some of those things as well.
Are there, I guess for the 43 that have submitted, are they getting like a survey? Just curious how you're like, the office hours, is that what you call them? I think that's a great idea. Kind of like, what is the experience of the folks that have been applying? Do you have a sense of that, or you just kind of waiting for an email complaint?
That's a good point. I do not have a sense of like how they're doing. DOHMH might, because they're working with them directly.
I'm surprised this admin loves a survey.
Yeah,
I don't know.
it's true. I mean, you can always rate the application, but that only gives you something of a stars. Whereas what I would like is actually more actionable feedback about what's working, what's.
I would be curious, because I think you have made concerted efforts to work with providers to create this, and so I think that that's like really revolutionary in the way that the city launches these kinds of things. So it'd be really great to see like, hey, you helped us build this. Kind of what was your experience?
And you're some of our earliest users, so please give us.
Yeah,
feedback.
absolutely,
That's a very good point.
absolutely. And how are you all thinking about kind of if you need training, what training looks like? And then you said that this is going to be rolling out to expand to include existing center-based providers. How are you all thinking? Do you feel like there needs to be expanded support for those providers to be able to utilize this site?
It could be.
Because that's a lot. That's a lot more.
It's a lot, and not all providers are as technically savvy, right? We try to make it so you don't have to be technically savvy, but some providers are. So training is, we have a very good sort of training manual that is available, online for the providers, and along with these office
How long
hours
is that
and
manual?
chat communication. It's a long application process.
I'm a provider. I have no time for that.
Okay, fair enough.
We are holding training sessions.
Okay. And then this is why I asked if there were any issues, if anyone had. I'm not trying to create a problem. If it doesn't exist, that's great.
I listened attentively. I've not heard any. Deputy Commissioner, have you heard any issues from your staff or?
I have not.
Okay. You wouldn't tell me anyway.
I would.
Okay, all right. And then my last question is, how has the Mayor's Office of Child Care marketing this provider portal who speak other languages than English? How are y'all getting out there?
So the way that providers access this portal, as Erin said, they first have to make their initial payment to the Department of Health on the Department of Health's website, and then they have the portal emailed to them. So there's really no way for them to access the portal before they have initiated their permit process. But we are always looking to just do more outreach to providers. So we'll continue thinking about how we get the word out, especially as we want to see more childcare providers open in parts of the city where we have childcare deserts today.
Yeah, I would love to just collaborate with y'all and
Absolutely.
just, yeah, thank you. Thank you for that. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you so much.
I'm going to ask Chair Krishnan for any questions he may have.
Thank you so much, Chair Shulman. Just a few questions from me. One was, how many locations of IdenGo and NYC are there? How does DOHMH communicate? How does DOI communicate with DOHMH for updates? does DOHMH reach out to Identico directly about issues?
I don't know the number of Identico locations. We are in regular touch with DOI. There's a standard email that will come through routinely providing results, and then there's also just regular staff contact, troubleshooting issues, and so on.
Okay, and we've also asked DOI for more information too, to understand their role in the process. What does DOHMH do when it receives information from DOI about arrests of someone who was already cleared?
So DOI does share that information with us, and part of why we maintain the records of where people are working is in case we do get information about arrests, we need to be able to identify where that worker is. So the first thing we do is reach out to that program. Frequently, that person is no longer employed at that program, but if they are still working in childcare, we will then do an assessment of what the arrest was about, and similar to the kind of assessment we would do on the front end when someone has first applied to work in childcare. It really depends on what that arrest is for, so we'll do that assessment to determine whether that means that they can no longer be working in that program.
And on to intro number 15, the bill that's one of the bills that's being heard today too. Does DOHMH require a subsequent background check for an educator every time they change employment?
So we do not. When a person, I think we went over this, a person who is within that 5-year period, so applications, background clearance has to be renewed every 5 years, and has not had a break in service of 180 days, and they are changing employers, they just need to let us know for the reasons we just discussed about arrest. They need to let us know. We will then move their fingerprints over from the prior location in our system. It's all invisible to the child care professional. So as soon as they let us know, they can go work at that new location. So in terms of Introduction 15, we believe that we are in compliance. We don't think that we're not asking for repeat. We're not conducting repeat background clearances except where the law requires us to do that.
I see. And so that's always been the policy, right? Or is that a recent change, or it's always been?
There have been some recent changes in what we call portability. So it may be that this bill was designed during that earlier period. We're not really sure. We would appreciate the opportunity to discuss that.
Sure. So is DOHMH in support of this bill or not?
So we don't have any concerns with the bill. We would like to better understand what the concern is that the bill is trying to address. As we read it, it says comply with the law, which is what we think we do.
Got it. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Chair Schulman and Chair Gutierrez.
Okay, I'm going to turn it over to Councilmember Brewer.
Thank you very much. On the technology, 100 years ago, which is how long I've been around, it was always hard to get some of those providers to be able to access just technology. Internet was too slow, didn't exist. It was expensive to have a fast repeater, et cetera. So is that all addressed now from either any of the centers that you're working with? Because, I said earlier, just getting access in your home, for me, just recently cost $1,000 to upgrade a system. That's not inexpensive. So I just want to know, is the technology there, hardware, to support what you're trying to do?
It is. We did a lot of extensive, what we call performance testing, right? Like how fast it is in various environments. I should have pointed out that portal that I showed you is mobile responsive.
On your cell phone.
So you can, it's a lot to do on your cell phone, but it's possible.
It's a lot to do on your cell phone.
It is. But a lot of providers did tell us, like sometimes it's just a laptop or a tablet. So we did a lot of testing on tablet. It works very well on tablets. And so we have not heard any extensive issues. If you don't have wireless, you're going to need an internet connection, but we have done extensive testing, and so far it meets.
So you need a fast connection, though. You need a connection that it's.
Well, you need a fast connection for the best experience. Obviously, the faster connection, the better. If it takes another 3 to 4 seconds to upload a document, that's not optimal, but hopefully it's not preventing the providers from going to the next step.
Okay, and then the next question is just because I have gotten complaints. Obviously, in general, we're trying to get as many young people to be part of the city system, part of the nonprofit system, et cetera. So some of the systems, as I understand it, I have private centers on the Upper West Side. They are now purchasing, I would say, paying you the fee, whatever it is, to comply. because they had private students only in the past. So they want to be part of your system because then they can feel that they can serve better and survive. So is that also, that would be a brand new center, basically. Is that something that you're including or not at this point?
Childcare providers do not need a separate permit or license to partner with New York City Public Schools as a contracted 3K or pre-K provider. If they are permitted, licensed, in good standing, they have an active permit with the Department of Health. They do not need a new permit to work with the city.
Okay, but are they likely to get students? Because already many students, understandably, because they charge, the usual, I don't know, $6,000 up to $30,000 in the past. So now, of course, they want to become a New York City provider. I thought they had to go through some steps to do that.
Yes, they do have to go through some steps, absolutely. It is not related to the permitting process.
Correct, not to the health
Right,
process, but it's to the DOE process.
Exactly, yes. So if the Department of Health has already certified that this is a healthy, safe environment for children, they do not need to go through that again. In order to be awarded a city contract with New York City Public Schools, they do have to go through an application process in order to demonstrate that they are able to meet the requirements to offer pre-K, 3K, and
Exactly.
now 2K.
Okay. All right. And then the other question about on the health front, in the past, again, how often do your inspectors visit? Is it like annual? Is it complaint based? In the past, people would freak out when they appeared. I assume that may not happen now. So how does that work for any center, not just the new ones?
We conduct an annual inspection of every childcare program, and I did want to just note the inspections that Aaron showed on the portal that are scheduled. Those are preliminary site viability inspections. Our routine operational inspections are unannounced. They're at least annual, and we will conduct a follow-up inspection if needed to check on something that we've observed, and we also have a complaint-based response.
Okay. And that hasn't changed over the years. You'd be looking at everything from the furniture to the quality of health in general.
That's right.
Okay. The final question I have is, do you think that you're going to, I know you have some applications, you said how many young people do you think are going to be in the city of New York? What are your demographic suggestions for the future? Are you looking at those to see if we're going to meet it? Obviously, there's an unfortunate situation with migrants being chased out by the president, so I'm just trying to think, what are your numbers? And I guess you also include Promise in all of this too, right?
So as we are planning for the future launch of 2K, as we continue to make sure that our 3K and pre-K system is meeting family need, we are looking across all of the city agencies that collect data on birth, migration, neighborhood patterns, how folks move between places, to make sure that we are supporting a robust childcare system. And that's where, in parts of the city where we know we don't have enough licensed childcare today, we will work with prospective providers to support them as they go through these permitting processes so we can build more capacity. And then we'll continue to work with existing providers, for example, to adjust the capacity, whether that be, switching some of their classes for 3-year-olds to 2-year-olds in the future, just to make sure that we're matching family demand as demographics shift.
And Promise is included in all of this?
Promise NYC is sort of a separate program managed by ACS, but
so you're not part of that at all?
We work closely with them, and it's part of the broader childcare ecosystem. When we think about all of the city's childcare programs, we look at all of the different resources for families, whether that's the city's 3K, pre-K, and soon-to-be 2K programs, the childcare voucher program administered by ACS and HRA, Promise NYC, and then other small programs.
But again, back to the bigger demographics. Obviously, 2030 hasn't happened yet. Census will give us more information. There's the community surveys in between. City Planning Commission does them. But do you have any sense in the next, 5 or 6 years, where you're going with this population, this younger population? Because we hear the bad news that there are fewer young people. That's very bad news. So I'm just wondering, are you hearing that? Are you planning for that? Or that's not relevant?
Well, we certainly hope that our city's investments in childcare will help reverse some of the out-migration of families at the very least. We are working closely with city planning, with demographers at the Department of Health and others to look at those trends year over year to inform our planning.
Are you telling the suburbanites to come back?
We would be happy to have them.
But I'm serious about some kind of indication of doing that.
I think we'll be monitoring how our different investments in childcare as part of the mayor's broader affordability agenda both keep families here and attract families here. I think in all seriousness, we know that we've lost families in recent years, both because the birth rate in the city has declined and because families with children under 6 are twice as likely to leave.
Yep.
We know that that's driven largely by childcare costs as well as housing costs. And I do think we're hopeful that as this administration's affordability agenda is implemented, that we will see families stay. You know, we hear stories from families all the time who want a second child, but they're waiting until their first child is eligible for 3K, so they only have to pay for one daycare bill.
Yeah.
So we hope that the city, by easing cost burden for families, will allow them to make the decisions that are best for them and not feel quite so constrained.
All right, thank you. Didn't quite answer the question, but close enough. Thank you.
Okay.
All right, thank you. Anybody else? Jen? No? Thank you very much for coming and testifying again. Thank you for putting together the PowerPoint. It was, on short notice. Really appreciate all the work that you're doing. And, we'll follow back up and we'll keep watching. But thank you so much.
Thank you guys.
Okay, now we're gonna do public testimony. Hold on. What?
You have to read a whole script now.
And I have to read a whole script. Okay, we will now open the hearing for public testimony. I want to remind members of the public, this is a government proceeding and decorum shall be observed at all times. As such, members of the public shall remain silent at all times. The witness table is reserved for people who wish to testify. No video recording or photography is allowed from the witness table. Further, members of the public may not present audio or video recordings as testimony, but may submit transcripts of such recording to the Sergeant-at-Arms for inclusion in the hearing record. If you wish to speak at today's hearing, please fill out an appearance card with the Sergeant-at-Arms and wait to be recognized. When recognized, you will have 2 minutes to speak on today's oversight topic, addressing the child care. 3 minutes? Okay. When recognized, you will have 3 minutes to speak on today's oversight topic, addressing the child care background check backlog or the legislation being considered today. If you have a written statement or additional written testimony you wish to submit for the record, please provide a copy of that testimony to the Sergeant-at-Arms. You may also email written testimony to testimony@council.nyc.gov within 72 hours of the adjournment of this hearing. Audio and video recordings will not be accepted. All right, the first panel is Paula Inhargu, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing it, Bailey Appel, Joyce McClammy, and Gregory Brender.
That's our only in-person panel.
What?
That's our only in-person panel.
Oh, okay.
Have a good one, Chair. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Thanks for showing up. I love you, bro. Bye, thank you.
Yes, please.
Thanks for bringing me with me.
Okay, which one is Paula? Okay, just remember, good folks, you have 3 minutes. If you have long testimony, you could submit it online, and we will definitely take a look at it. So just when you see it's coming to a point, just summarize what you're talking about. Paula, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair Gutierrez, Shulman, and Krishnan, and members of the New York City Council for the opportunity to testify. My name is Paula Inargue. I'm a policy analyst at United Neighborhood Houses. UNH is a policy and social change organization representing 45 neighborhood settlement houses, 40 in New York City, and reaching over 765,000 New Yorkers each year. In 2023, DOHMH launched a new online automated process for staff clearance. Since its rollout, the system has generally improved and feedback has been mostly positive. While we do not have clear insight into whether DOHMH is consistently meeting the federally required 40-day timeline, providers report that delays are not as severe as under the previous system. Based on feedback from our Settlement House members, we have heard that many staff are able to receive provisional clearance relatively quickly and begin working. However, obtaining full clearance continues to take significantly longer, particularly for out-of-state background checks, and has been creating some ongoing staffing challenges and uncertainty for providers. Even so, we have received generally positive feedback on the new system and are encouraged by its continued improvement as implementation moves forward. This continuous improvement will be especially important as the city prepares to expand its early childhood education system and as the Department of Youth and Community Development issues new after-school contracts. New providers will need to obtain SAC licenses and clear new staff, which could strain the current system. My written testimony goes into more detail. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Yeah, they did mention to us that the out-of-state was an issue, so we'll talk internally and see what can be done about that.
Thank you.
But I appreciate that. And what's your sense of the new portal that they showed?
We haven't, I mean, I guess we'll have to see.
Okay.
Yeah. But I think mostly it's been the out-of-state and the difference between the provisional approvals and the full
Right.
clearances. But other than that, we have been hearing positive feedback.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next.
Good afternoon, Chair Schulman, Chair Gutierrez, Deputy Speaker, and Chair Williams, and member of the committee. My name is Bailey Appel, and I'm the Human Resources Coordinator at Cuddles Child Care Center in Williamsburg. Cuddles currently serves nearly 150 children with capacity to serve nearly 300 children across our programs. Thank you, Chair Gutierrez, for visiting Cuddles last week. We appreciated the opportunity to share our program and discuss the realities facing providers and families. Our staff was grateful for your care and compassion. I'm here today to speak about the staff clearance and credentialing process, which remains one of the biggest barriers to hiring and maintaining qualified staff. Streamlining this process is essential if centers are going to recruit workers efficiently, respond to staffing needs, and continue providing safe, stable, high-quality care for children and families. One of the most difficult issues involves staff transitioning from one child care program to another. Currently, a worker must obtain a termination letter before the CBC process can even begin with a new employer. Once that termination letter is issued, the worker may lose pay from their prior employer, yet cannot begin working for the new employer until clearance is completed. This creates serious financial hardship for staff and leaves programs struggling to fill positions. Cuddles operates two separate licensed programs, an infant-toddler program and a preschool program. When staff move between these co-located programs within the same organization and building, they are often required to repeat the full clearance process from the beginning, even though there has been no change in employer, location, or background status. That is unnecessary and inefficient. It also makes it very difficult to use already cleared staff to temporarily cover absences or serve as floaters across both programs, which creates added logistical and financial strain. For that reason, we are encouraged by Councilman Abreu's intro 0015/2026, which would prevent unnecessary repeat background checks for providers, employees, and volunteers who have already been cleared within the previous 5 years. We are hopeful that this will also help allow staff to be linked to more than one program without requiring a separate clearance for each one. We further would like to raise other issues during the clearance process, including applicants are asked for exact address histories for prior residences. Very often, they don't recall the exact month and year of older moves. We also continue to encounter vague deficiency and rejection notices that do not clearly explain what is missing or how to correct it, along with long processing delays and little or no information about application status while materials are pending. In addition, applicants with foreign language diplomas often face unnecessary obstacles because of restricted translation options, which may delay their ability to complete the process. Thank you for your attention and for supporting efforts to reduce unnecessary barriers.
Thank you very much. We'll have questions when the panel is done. Go ahead, next.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for holding this hearing. My name is Gregory Brender. I'm here on behalf of the Daycare Council of New York. We are the membership organization of early childhood provider organizations in New York City. And we're so grateful that the City Council and the Mayor's Office of Child Care and the Department of Health have been working to improve background checks. The background check process has been a long-standing challenge for providers. Providers are facing a staffing crisis. I'd say the first issue in the staffing crisis is really their low pay. But nonetheless, the background check process is also a challenge. And just go back to some of the history. When this process was launched in 2019, it actually led to the temporary closure of many programs. And in response to that, in February of 2020, OCFS started doing the provisional background clearances. And right now we have a lot of staff who are working with provisional background clearances, and we basically have had that since 2019, or really since 2020. And while that solves temporarily the problem, because staff who are back who are only provisionally cleared need to be supervised by fully cleared staff all the time, it does create more of a staffing problem and issues where providers have a greater risk of being out of compliance. So we are excited to see this portal and other work to increase the speed of background checks, and have certainly heard that there have been increases. Nonetheless, we do have some policy recommendations also to increase the speed. First is to facilitate cooperation and data sharing with the Department of Education's PET system. The PET system also checks New York State criminal history check, national criminal record check with the FBI, New York State sex offender registry, and the New York State statewide central registry of child abuse and maltreatment. We've generally heard that the PET system operates more efficiently, even as it is checking many of the same things. So finding ways to develop mechanisms for data sharings with the consent of the candidate that will allow information found by PET system to be used in the CBC process. We're also recommending, and I know there's been some work on this, working with New York State to ensure the portability of background checks. And it's good to hear that there has been some increase in the staffing of DOHMH, but particularly in the Bureau of Child Care, which we expect and hope will have the need for more work as we're expanding programs as part of the 2K and 3K expansions, ensuring they have the ability to continually to staff up. Finally, we would recommend both that DOHMH and others in the city continue to conduct meetings with providers to identify challenges and solutions on a broad process, and also that they've developed procedures for proactive outreach to employers when there's a paperwork issue or some other issue that could be addressed, that they need the information. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next.
Good afternoon. My name is Joyce McClammy. I'm from DC 37. I'm Local 205 Vice President, and we thank you for hosting this hearing today. As we have heard, our youngest we represent. Our Local 205 members we represent. We thank the DOH that they have invented this portal, because it is moving a little faster, but even 45 days is still a lengthy period. We appreciate that they have to investigate to make sure that we're getting safe, qualified staffing to take care of the most vulnerable people in the world. Now, they said that if there's a person on site that's already have all of their screenings cleared and everything, a person that's lacking maybe a misprint, they can still come in and be cleared, but that's not so. We had a staffer working. She was going to be a lead teacher, but she had to go through the process over again. She had to wait 3 months before she totally got cleared. So we just want to make sure that the process goes a little quicker, a little easier for once you get your fingerprints, once you get your clearing, that you can go in and work into the system instead of waiting for when you have to do child abuse trainings, the trainings, because that can slow the process down as well. So we thank you for hearing us. Just want this process to move a little faster because in the CBOs, we need certified teachers. And when they have to wait for the process of clearing, then they get discouraged and they go other places.
Right.
Because DOE will accept them, whereas the community-based center, DOH, or they don't get the clearing. So we just want the process to go
No, I appreciate
smoother.
that.
Thank you.
My colleague has a question.
Thank you so much. And thank you for inviting me to Cuddles. I had a wonderful time. I have since referenced the visit many times in a week, but I was really impacted by the experience that you shared. Something that we didn't get to hear from the department was on the challenge for specific degrees that needed to be translated and how lengthy that process is to be able to hire staff. We heard from the admin about how easy it should be now for people that have already cleared background checks that are currently employed to move to another place. What you mentioned was something that we didn't hear, which is that they have to submit a letter of resignation, or would say that again. You can answer. Just so that I'm clear, because we want to follow up.
Termination letter.
Okay, and so let's say I'm a teacher at a provider and I want to go work at Cuddles. I have to submit the termination letter to DOHMH first, or I just have to provide that I've submitted in a termination letter?
So I need a termination letter from your previous employer.
Oh, you need to grab it. Oh, okay. Before you can even start the process of moving to the next site?
So I send it in. I had one employee that I sent in the clearance, and they told me that like only 3 weeks later, I got a reply that before we can start, we need the termination letter and exact date when they stopped working at the previous place.
And that was DOHMH?
Yeah.
Okay. Because I think that adds time. That was not something that
for sure.
they hit on today. Okay. Wonderful. Gregory, good to see you. Thank you. Thank you guys for coming again. I know that.
Thank you.
Yeah, and can I just ask you to submit your testimony, your testimony written as well, so that we have it? Thank you. That's it.
Yes, thank you all.
Thank you.
Okay. Oh, that was my pen. We will now move to virtual testimony. Please wait for your name to be called to testify, and please select unmute when prompted. Again, please keep to 3 minutes. I'm going to call on Jonathan Lorenzo. He's not on, okay. Kathia Pillaya.
Hi, good day. Thank you for the opportunity. My name is Katia Pilier, and I am the Family Child Care Network Director for Nuestros Niños Child Care Development Center. Located in the heart of Williamsburg since 1973, we understand the importance of running a high-quality educational and safe program. Our organization has 3 centers in Williamsburg and a family child care network of 45 providers, mainly speaking Spanish, throughout Brooklyn and Queens. We are devoted to ensuring the programs run smoothly. However, we are required to use systems that are developed with the intention to make programs safe, but are not reliable. I am testifying to share my experience on the different challenges that our organization faces relating to navigating the background check process required to work in the early child care sector, both center-based and family child care network. While the intention of creating systems that are necessary to ensure that our children are safe, there are many obstacles that occur during this process. The different systems in place are deeply unreliable and unstable and create unnecessary barriers for qualified individuals who are eager to support young children. From the start, the process is confusing and fragmented. From a center-based perspective, admin support is required to navigate applicants' information through use of multiple systems such as PETS for fingerprints, SCR and CBC for the background checks that do not communicate with each other. Each platform has its own requirements, login credentials, and instructions, many of which are unclear and are not streamlined. In many cases, is a maze with unclear instructions of which processes should be started first. The guides that are provided are also unclear. Applicants, on the other hand, do not receive the required instructions of what needs to be completed in a timely manner. Both applicants and providers are playing an ambiguous role, which causes delays of clearances. Some examples are fingerprints are allegedly not received after applicants have taken their fingerprints and activated their accounts. Documents are submitted and not reviewed until weeks after. If there are mistakes, these corrections are not notified at one time. Numerous emails are sent to be corrected in less than a week, causing more delays. Lastly, conversations are started with a specific agent and then it is changed to a different agent where the
Your time has
process is
expired.
delayed.
Can you just summarize, please, the rest of it, and then you can
Sure.
send it to us?
So I guess the other part is highlighting the Family Child Care Network. They use systems such as FAMS that is supposed to support for uploading documentation for their licenses, clearances. That's not a very clear system. And also they're supposed to also use an SCR system, also part of the clearances, which they tend to lack access to. I submitted my testimony, thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, next is Sage Chaptel.
Starting time.
Hi, thank you for holding this important hearing and for the opportunity to testify. My name is Sage Shaftel. I represent the Early Care and Education Consortium. ECEC members operate 256 high-quality centers across New York State, including 86 in New York City. Our members serve over 8,500 children in the city and employ nearly 2,000 educators and staff. We're incredibly grateful for the work the City Council and the Mamdani administration have been doing to increase access to childcare for families across the city. Background checks, which are absolutely critical to ensuring children are safely cared for, have long been a challenge for providers in New York City, particularly as we face significant workforce challenges. In a recent survey of ECEC members, we found that of nearly 300 CBCs initiated in the last year, only about 57% were cleared within 45 days. About 41% took between 45 days and 6 months, and the remaining took longer than 6 months. This is a vast improvement from a few years ago, but in order to expand supply and improve access, more needs to be done. So I want to thank Majority Leader Abreu for reintroducing Intro 15 and for his continued focus on improving the CBC clearance process. I also want to thank DOHMH for their ongoing engagement and efforts to expedite the process. Intro 15 would address a critical inefficiency in the system, the lack of portability. This would allow a cleared teacher to move across the hall to another classroom or across the city to another center without being required to go through the background check process again. While DOH has made significant improvements, the current policy remains limited to certain employees and does not extend to group teachers or education directors. Further, while cleared assistant and substitute teachers are permitted to move between programs more easily, barriers do still exist, particularly if they did not list each DCID on their original CBC application. The impact is that if a provider opens a new program in New York City, then for that program to be able to have their current teachers move between locations, they would need to have each of them submit a new application. These limitations also cause challenges in emergency situations. For example, one of our members experienced a water main break and had to transition children to a different site in the city. They were able to move the children between centers, but not the staff, without going through an updated clearance process. As you can imagine, moving children without the requisite staff causes issues with ratios, so in order to remain in ratio, the provider had to send some children home, which then impacts parents' ability to work if they no longer have access to care. These situations also occur if a teacher calls out sick early one morning or has to leave midday due to illness or a family emergency, as a provider may not be able to bring in staff from another one of their centers without going through a waiver process. Intro 15 would ease these challenges significantly by allowing the clearance to follow the person as opposed to the classroom or facility. Thank you for the opportunity to testify, and we look forward to working with you to improve childcare access for all New York City families.
You can summarize if you want the rest of it.
She finished.
Oh, she finished. Thank you very much. We really appreciate your testimony. I also want to make mention that the administration is watching this, and they have people here who've listened to the public testimony. So I think that that's very important, and they will take that back and take a look at that. So I appreciate I want to thank you to everyone who's testified. If there's anyone present in the room or on Zoom that has not had the opportunity to testify, please raise your hand. Seeing no one else, I would like to note that written testimony which will be reviewed in full by committee staff may be submitted to the record up to 72 hours after the close of this hearing by emailing it to testimony@council.nyc.gov. And with that, I close today's hearing. Thank you.